This isn't just a story about a bad day at the office, or a minor workplace disagreement. This is a story about a calculated, cold-blooded act of betrayal that ripped apart my professional aspirations, shattered my trust, and left me questioning everything I thought I knew about integrity and merit. This is the story of how my coworker, a person I once considered a friend, systematically dismantled my reputation and stole the promotion I had worked tirelessly for, all by weaving a web of insidious lies directly to our boss. And the impact? It lingered, a dark stain on my career, a constant whisper of doubt in my ear, reminding me that even in environments where hard work is supposed to be rewarded, the most dangerous weapon can be a venomous tongue. Let me take you back to a time when my career felt like it was on an unstoppable ascent. I was in my late 20s, brimming with ambition, and working for a mid-sized tech company. It was a place where innovation was celebrated, and performance was genuinely recognized. Or so I thought. I had poured my heart and soul into that company for 5 years. 5 years of late nights, early mornings, sacrificing weekends, and consistently exceeding every expectation placed upon me. I lived and breathed that job. It wasn't just a paycheck, it was my passion, my identity, the canvas on which I was painting my professional masterpiece. I started as an entry-level associate, and through sheer grit and a relentless pursuit of excellence, I had climbed the ladder steadily, proving my worth at every step. Each project I touched turned to gold. My metrics were consistently at the top of the team. I was the go-to person for complex problems, the one who could untangle the most intricate knots, the problem solver everyone relied on. My performance reviews were glowing, a testament to my dedication and capability. My boss, Mr. Henderson, a man I respected deeply for his fairness and vision, often praised my initiative and my unwavering commitment. He had even hinted, more than once, that I was on the fast track for significant leadership roles. The promotion I was eyeing, the one that became the central point of this harrowing tale, was for a senior project manager position. This wasn't just a bump in title or a slight increase in salary. This was a pivotal role, one that would put me in charge of our company's most critical, high-profile projects. It came with a substantial salary increase, a significant expansion of my responsibilities, and most importantly, a clear path to executive leadership. It was the culmination of everything I had worked for, the next logical step in my meticulously planned career trajectory. I had been preparing for this role for over a year, taking extra courses, volunteering for leadership tasks, even mentoring junior colleagues. I felt ready, truly ready, to take on that challenge and elevate the team, the department, and the company as a whole. I believed with every fiber of my being that I was the most qualified candidate, not just because of my track record, but because of my genuine passion for the work and my unwavering loyalty to the company's mission. Then there was Mark. Mark joined our team about 2 years before this whole ordeal unfolded. At first, he seemed like a pleasant enough guy. He was charismatic, always ready with a joke, and had an uncanny ability to charm people. He was new to the company, coming from a slightly different industry, and initially, I tried to be a good colleague. I showed him the ropes, helped him navigate our internal systems, introduced him to key people, and even shared some of my strategies for success within our specific corporate culture. I saw it as an investment in a new team member, fostering a positive environment. We'd grab coffee, occasionally lunch, and talk about our weekends. He seemed keen to learn, always asking questions about my projects, my methods, my relationship with Mr. Henderson. I, naive and open, shared everything, believing I was simply helping a colleague get up to speed. I genuinely thought we were building a good professional rapport, perhaps even a friendship. I saw his questions not as probing, but as a sign of his engagement and eagerness to contribute. I saw his charm as an asset, not a weapon. But slowly, subtly, things began to shift. It started with small, almost imperceptible instances. A comment here, a glance there. I would present an idea in a meeting, and Mark would echo it later, slightly rephrased, subtly implying it was his own, or adding a minor detail that made it sound like he had refined it. I'd shrug it off, thinking, oh, maybe he just had a similar thought. Or, it's a team effort, after all. He'd make light-hearted jabs about my meticulousness, calling me the office workhorse or Mr. By-the-Book, comments that felt backhanded even if delivered with a smile. My gut, that primal instinct we often ignore, would prickle, but my rational mind would dismiss it. He's just joking, I'd tell myself. Don't be so sensitive. He never directly sabotaged my work in those early days, not in a way I could pinpoint. It was more insidious, a gradual chipping away at my contributions, a subtle reframing of narratives, a quiet redirection of credit. He was a master of passive aggression, a virtuoso of veiled compliments that were actually thinly disguised criticisms. As the senior project manager position became officially available, the dynamics intensified. The air in the office grew thick with unspoken competition, but for me, it felt like a natural progression. I had been groomed for this. I had the experience, the results, the endorsements. I truly believed my track record spoke for itself. My colleagues, many of whom I had helped or mentored over the years, seemed to share this sentiment. They would often come to me for advice, knowing I had a deep understanding of our projects and processes. I was often the first point of contact for new initiatives, and my name was synonymous with reliability and successful project delivery. I could feel the momentum building, the recognition growing. I had just successfully completed a major company-wide initiative, bringing it in ahead of schedule and under budget, a feat that garnered significant praise from upper management, including a direct commendation from the CEO in an all-hands meeting. This was it, I thought. This was my moment. This was the culmination of years of dedicated effort, a testament to my unwavering commitment and proven capabilities. I could almost taste the promotion, feel the weight of the new responsibilities, the thrill of the next challenge. But as my star continued to rise, Mark's behavior grew increasingly unsettling. His subtle jabs became more frequent, his jokes sharper. He started isolating me, subtly turning others against me. If I proposed an idea, he'd be the first to find a flaw, not constructively, but in a way that undermined my credibility. If I had a successful presentation, he'd somehow find a way to minimize its impact or point out a minor detail that could have been improved, completely overshadowing the overall achievement. He began to twist innocent comments I made, taking them out of context and presenting them to others in a negative light. For example, if I expressed a concern about a project's timeline, stressing the need for careful planning, he might later tell a colleague, "Oh, my name is so pessimistic about this project," always focusing on the negatives. He was meticulously gathering small pieces of information, innocuous details, and meticulously reframing them to paint a picture of me that was utterly false. He'd accidentally forget to include me in important email chains, or mistakenly omit my name from project reports where I had made significant contributions. These were not mere oversights. They were deliberate, calculated acts designed to chip away at my visibility and influence. The turning point, the moment the mask truly slipped, was when I overheard him talking to another colleague in the break room. He was complaining about how some people always tried to hog the spotlight, how they were so self-important, always making everything about themselves. He didn't use my name, but the context, the tone, the knowing glances shared, made it clear who he was talking about. A cold dread seeped into my stomach. It wasn't just competition, it was malice. It was envy. It was a desperate attempt to diminish me, to make himself appear taller by standing on my perceived shortcomings. I tried to confront him once, gently, asking if everything was okay, if he felt there was an issue between us. He just smiled, disarmingly, and said, "What? No man, we're good. Just having a laugh. You know me, I'm just a jokester." His eyes, however, held a cold, calculating glint that contradicted his words. That was when I knew. That was when the first seed of suspicion took root, blossoming into a terrifying certainty that Mark was not just competing with me, he was actively working against me. The interview process for the senior project manager role was rigorous. I went through multiple rounds, presenting my vision, detailing my successes, and outlining my strategies for future growth. Each interview felt incredibly positive. I left each one feeling confident, energized, and more certain than ever that this promotion was within my grasp. Mr. Henderson himself conducted the final interview, and his feedback was overwhelmingly positive. He praised my innovative ideas, my deep understanding of the market, and my proven leadership capabilities. He even mentioned how impressed he was with my consistent performance and my dedication to the team. I walked out of that office feeling euphoric, on top of the world, ready to embark on this new chapter. I had done everything right. I had earned this. I had laid the groundwork for years, and now finally, it was all coming to fruition. I even allowed myself a moment of quiet celebration, a small pat on the back for all the hard work that had led me to this precipice of success. Then came the phone call. Not from Mr. Henderson directly, but from HR. My heart immediately sank. HR calls rarely bring good news. The voice on the other end was formal, detached, informing me that, after careful consideration, the company had decided to go with another candidate for the senior project manager role. My world stopped. The air left my lungs. Another candidate? I stammered, my voice barely a whisper. Who? The HR representative, adhering to company policy, could not disclose the name. But I knew. A cold, sickening wave of certainty washed over me. It had to be Mark. It couldn't be anyone else. My mind raced, trying to process this incomprehensible news. All the praise, all the promises, all the hard work, for nothing? It felt like a cruel joke, a punch to the gut that left me breathless and disoriented. I asked for feedback, for an explanation, anything to make sense of this devastating reversal. The HR rep offered vague platitudes about a better fit and different skill sets, none of which resonated with my extensive knowledge of my own capabilities and the requirements of the role. I hung up the phone, my hand trembling, my vision blurring. The euphoria I had felt just days before had been replaced by a crushing despair so profound it felt physical. The next day, I gathered every ounce of courage and walked into Mr. Henderson's office, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. I needed answers. I deserved answers. I needed to understand how I, the most qualified and experienced candidate, had been overlooked. Mr. Henderson looked uncomfortable, his usual open demeanor replaced by a strained formality. He reiterated the HR line, a better fit, different direction. But I pushed. I pleaded. I explained my confusion, my dedication, my record. I asked him directly, is there something I'm unaware of? Something about my performance? His gaze shifted, avoiding my eyes. It was then, in that evasive glance, that I knew there was more to it. He sighed a heavy, weary sound, and finally, hesitantly, began to reveal the insidious web of lies Mark had spun. Mark, it turned out, had been systematically undermining me for months, perhaps even since he joined the company. He had approached Mr. Henderson not with direct accusations, but with carefully crafted, seemingly innocuous concerns. He had painted a picture of me as someone who was difficult to work with, unapproachable, and resistant to new ideas. He claimed I was hoarding information, micromanaging junior colleagues, and taking credit for others' work. He had even gone so far as to suggest that my meticulousness, which was always seen as a strength, was actually a sign of my lack of trust in the team, and that my dedication was merely a guise for my inability to delegate. He twisted every positive attribute I possessed into a negative. My focus on details became nitpicking. My proactive problem-solving became overstepping. My mentorship of junior staff became meddling. He had manufactured incidents, subtle but damaging. For example, he claimed that I had deliberately excluded him from critical project discussions, when in reality, he had simply not responded to meeting invitations. He told Mr. Henderson that I was often disengaged in team meetings, when I was actually listening intently, processing information, and formulating thoughtful contributions. He fabricated a story about a crucial client presentation where he alleged I had forgotten a key piece of data, implying it was due to my sloppy preparation, when in fact, the data was never part of my section of the presentation, and was handled by another team member. He had subtly, persistently, and with chilling precision fed Mr. Henderson these fabricated narratives, these half-truths and outright falsehoods, eroding his trust in me one small, seemingly insignificant detail at a time. Mark had carefully constructed a false persona for me, a caricature of a problematic employee, and he had done it so masterfully that Mr. Henderson, a man I genuinely believed to be fair and discerning, had fallen for it. The most devastating lie, the one that truly sealed my fate, was about a critical project deadline. Mark had claimed to Mr. Henderson that I had deliberately missed a crucial internal deadline for a preliminary report, causing a ripple effect of delays down the line. This was an outright fabrication. The report had been submitted on time, and I had email confirmations and timestamped documents to prove it. But Mark had apparently told Mr. Henderson that I had tried to cover it up, and that he, Mark, had to step in to mitigate the damage. He even implied I had tried to blame others for my own oversight. It was a brazen, audacious lie, designed to attack my most valued professional attribute, reliability. This specific accusation had clearly been the final nail in my coffin, confirming for Mr. Henderson the narrative of an unreliable and untrustworthy employee that Mark had so diligently constructed. As Mr. Henderson relayed these fabrications, each word was a dagger twisting in my gut. I felt a cold wave of nausea wash over me. My mind reeled, trying to reconcile the person I knew myself to be with the monstrous image Mark had painted. I was aghast, speechless, utterly betrayed. The man who sat across from me, the man I had respected for so long, had been systematically poisoned against me. He saw me through Mark's distorted lens, and it was a horrifying realization. Mr. Henderson, seeing the genuine shock and hurt on my face, seemed to realize the gravity of what he was saying. He looked visibly troubled, perhaps even questioning his own judgment. He admitted that Mark had been very convincing, and that his concerns had seemed credible at the time, especially when presented subtly over a long period. He said he had seen Mark as a proactive employee who was looking out for the team's best interests. The irony was a bitter taste in my mouth. I spent the next few days in a fog of disbelief and anger. The promotion, the recognition, the upward trajectory I had envisioned, all gone, snatched away by the venomous words of a jealous coworker. My world felt like it had been turned upside down. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. Every interaction in the office felt tainted. I saw Mark walking around with a smug self-satisfaction, basking in his ill-gotten victory, and a burning rage ignited within me. How could someone be so utterly devoid of conscience? How could he look me in the eye, knowing the depths of his deceit? I felt a profound sense of injustice, a burning desire to expose him, to tear down the carefully constructed facade he had erected. I immediately compiled every piece of evidence I had: email timestamps, project reports, performance reviews, commendations, records of meeting attendance. I had an overwhelming amount of documentation proving my meticulousness, my punctuality, my proactive communication, and my collaborative spirit. I scheduled another meeting with Mr. Henderson, armed with my arsenal of facts. I presented each piece of evidence, systematically dismantling every lie Mark had told. I showed him the submitted report, the email confirming its timely delivery. I showed him the positive feedback from junior colleagues I had mentored. I showed him the project timelines that clearly indicated my consistent adherence to deadlines. I presented a comprehensive overview of my contributions, backed by undeniable data. Mr. Henderson listened, his expression growing increasingly grim. He looked at the evidence, then at me, then back at the evidence. The realization slowly dawned on his face, a mixture of shock, regret, and profound disappointment. He saw it, finally. He saw the truth. He saw how he had been manipulated, how he had been played for a fool. He apologized, sincerely and profusely, expressing his dismay and admitting his error in judgment. He acknowledged that he should have investigated Mark's claims more thoroughly, that he had allowed himself to be swayed by a carefully orchestrated campaign of whispers and half-truths. He promised to rectify the situation, to address Mark's misconduct, and to ensure that justice would be served. He assured me that my hard work and dedication had not gone unnoticed, and that he would personally ensure my career path would be back on track. But the damage was already done. The senior project manager position had been awarded to Mark. They couldn't simply revoke it without causing a massive internal stir and legal complications. The trust, once broken, could not be easily mended. While Mr. Henderson's apology was heartfelt, it couldn't erase the sting of betrayal or the lost opportunity. He offered me a lateral move into a different, equally challenging role, with a commitment to fast-track my next promotion. He even offered to publicly commend my efforts to counteract the negative narrative Mark had spun. It was an attempt to make amends, and I appreciated the sentiment, but the bitter taste of what could have been lingered. My confrontation with Mark was brief and chilling. After Mr. Henderson had his own serious conversation with him, Mark cornered me in the hallway. There was no apology, no remorse. Only a cold, calculating stare. He said, "You shouldn't have gone to Henderson. You should have just moved on." His words were laced with a chilling arrogance, a complete lack of empathy. He truly believed he had done nothing wrong, or perhaps, he simply didn't care. He was a master manipulator, and he had won. In that moment, I saw him for what he truly was, a predator, driven by envy and devoid of any moral compass. It solidified my understanding that some people are simply incapable of genuine connection or fair play. Their only motive is self-advancement, regardless of the cost to others. The aftermath of this betrayal was profound. I stayed at the company for another 6 months, trying to rebuild my reputation and trust, trying to heal from the wounds inflicted by Mark's deceit. Mr. Henderson did his best to support me, giving me high-profile projects and making sure my contributions were recognized. But the office environment felt poisoned. The camaraderie I once cherished was gone, replaced by a pervasive sense of caution and suspicion. I found myself constantly looking over my shoulder, questioning everyone's motives, no longer able to engage with the carefree enthusiasm I once had. The joy I once derived from my work had evaporated, replaced by a lingering bitterness. My passion had been extinguished, replaced by a dull ache of disillusionment. I realized that even with Mr. Henderson's support, the foundational trust had been irrevocably shattered. I couldn't work in an environment where such a calculated act of malice could thrive, even if it was eventually exposed. I needed a fresh start, a place where I could rebuild my faith in professional integrity. So, I made the difficult decision to leave. It was heart-wrenching to walk away from a company where I had invested so much of myself, but I knew it was the only way to truly heal and move forward. I found a new opportunity at a different company, a place with a strong culture of transparency and ethical conduct. It took time, a long time, to fully regain my confidence, to trust my colleagues again, to let down the walls I had instinctively built around myself. The experience left an indelible mark on me, a painful lesson in the dark side of human nature and the insidious power of envy. It taught me to be more discerning, to recognize red flags, and to protect myself from those who would prey on trust and ambition. As for Mark, his reign was short-lived. Without my consistent performance and problem-solving abilities to lean on, the projects he was now solely responsible for began to falter. His lack of genuine leadership and technical expertise, once masked by his charm and my contributions, became glaringly obvious. The fabricated reports and twisted narratives could only carry him so far. Within a year of my departure, I heard through the grapevine that he had been quietly let go. The same charm that had initially fooled Mr. Henderson couldn't sustain his performance in a role he was entirely unqualified for. Justice, in its own slow and convoluted way, had eventually caught up with him. It wasn't the swift, satisfying retribution I might have wished for in my darkest moments of anger, but it was a testament to the fact that true merit and integrity eventually prevail, while deceit and manipulation ultimately crumble under the weight of their own falsehoods. This experience, though deeply painful, taught me invaluable lessons. It showed me the importance of documenting everything, not just for my own records, but as a shield against potential malicious actors. It taught me to trust my gut instincts when something feels off, even if my rational mind tries to dismiss it. Most importantly, it reinforced my belief in the power of truth and integrity, even when confronted by the most elaborate lies. It taught me that while envy can be a powerful destructive force, it ultimately consumes those who harbor it. And that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in fighting fire with fire, but in walking away from the flames, preserving your own dignity and seeking a path where your light can truly shine, unclouded by the shadows of betrayal. If you've ever dealt with betrayal like this, whether in the workplace or in your personal life, if you've ever had someone try to steal your success or undermine your character with lies, I want to hear your story. Share your experiences in the comments below. Your strength and resilience are powerful, and together, we can remind each other that while betrayal can wound us, it doesn't have to define us. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more true stories of jealousy, deceit, and the enduring human spirit. Thank you for listening.